Lorenzo, in our recording that we did yesterday, you mentioned a term that I had never heard of before. So I'm going to now pick your brain so you can talk about it a little more. But the term you used was minimum viable testing. I'd never heard this before. Please tell us what it is. Tell us what the implications are, what the application is.
Yeah, like minimal viable test is basically instead of let's say you want to I don't know, come up with a new income stream for your e-commerce, like introducing a new upsell or cross whatever, instead of like starting to go deep into like hiring a bunch of developers to, implement that functionality, or you want to make new images, about whatever products and selling angle, whatever, right? Think about one step before, where you don't have to commit so much in terms of money, investment, and time to develop that feature or to create that image. We just recorded a video where you and I were talking about, you know, product ingredients, right? A normal design can put together a design of a bunch of product ingredients without having to go to the manufacturing company and taking photos of those ingredients, right? There's always a way, and maybe always is not the right word to use, but oftentimes there's always a way to think about what can we do in order to run a test that proves that there is a little bit of interest towards what we're trying to do. And I just give you two examples. I've heard another methodology called dark paint technique, I think it's called, where you're basically like faking a functionality.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And when people click on that functionality, there's just like a pop-up that says, this is not available. Or, like another example would be, instead of launching a brand new product, right? Why not having a designer design the packaging of that product, put that product on a category page, look at how many people are going to the product page, and then see how many people are adding the product to the cart. And then when they add the product to the cart, you can say, the product is not available at this time. So it's kind of like a way to understand if there is some interest or lack of interest about something before, going ahead and investing money and time.
And to add to this, I think this also can be applied to copywriting. So, for example, if you have identified, you woke up in the morning, you had this crazy idea for a new selling angle that you were not previously exploring, but you're not a great copywriter, just go ahead and write copy for that selling angle and then introduce a mechanism on the page where, where people can kind of raise their hand up and say that that's, so they can click on that selling angle. And two things have happened now. One is now we have votes on how many people actually clicked on it, so we know how important it was. But secondly, we can now see if the selling angle has legs, because if it's driving some sales, we know it has legs. Now you can hire a professional copywriter and make it much better. You can hire a researcher to go back to your customers and actually interview them to actually frame the selling angle in a much more persuasive way. That is a cheaper way of doing it because now you have some evidence that something works. So essentially, what Lorenzo and I are saying is that for all your marketing that you're doing, think about it in terms of like, what is the least amount that I can invest in it so I can get meaningful data from it. You have to make some investment. You can't say like, I want this to be done in 15 minutes. Maybe it'll take two, maybe your MVT is 4 hours of work, but that's still better than 40 hours of work. And it allows you to then test and validate if the idea has legs. And I think it applies for everything. And I think it's a really important mindset. And it's something that it really, you might say, well, does this really save me money? It actually makes a huge difference because once you shift your mindset to this minimum viable test approach, it makes everything you do, from writing code to running a marketing campaign to writing copy to launching new products to doing a new redesign, everything is being now reduced to these small steps that we can track and measure against, so we can collect some data. Maybe it's not perfect data, but at least it's better than no data at all. And I think it also does one more thing. You know what it does? When the stakes are always very high, it means that the person with the most authority is the person who has to make that call, which means the CEO makes that call. And it's very frustrating for the team because they're like, well, we have no say in the matter. And it actually breaks the team spirit. But if you have an MVT mindset, then
Um,
the team can, even a customer service person can come up with an idea. You can quickly prototype something and test it and see if it has legs. I think it increases the participation rate of the entire team towards those business goals. So it has lots of benefits.
yeah, and also like from talking about sales pitch, if you, let's say you run a minimal viable test, and it ends up being a positive one, so users are showing you interest in whatever you're trying to do, right? Now you have stronger tools to go ask for budget for whatever you're trying to achieve with that test, right? Maybe with better photography, or we need to do a video about X. Well, now you have a hard data that show that people are interested in that. So it's just another way to convince your boss or whoever needs to be convinced about that.
And I think it applies to life. I think when you have that mindset, it allows you to kind of simplify difficult problems into small steps. And I think that's a life skill. And I just think that that is actually the difference between one of the benefits of being a small company. Is big companies by definition think in terms, like, for we talked about this, like for Google, they have launched hundreds of products over the last 20 years, but nothing has been successful like as compared to like paid search. And the problem is that they're comparing something that is worth $1 trillion. So even if it's like $150 million business, they consider that to be a failure, right? And so I think this is the benefit a small company has, that you can prototype things very, very quickly. And if it's successful, you can, that's still successful for you versus, anyway. I hope this idea is interesting to you. Leave us a comment, give us a like so we know you like our content. And if you haven't subscribed, do subscribe. But most importantly, if you can think of someone in your life who would benefit from this video, please share it with them. It means a lot to us. We will see you soon. Take care. Ciao.